Good afternoon, beautiful people. So, today I'm just going to be chatting a little bit about the work I do, how I got into it myself, and how you yourself, if you're looking for a career that involves exciting work and it involves the opportunity for a lot of travel, opportunity to do something where you actually feel like you're making a difference. I feel like in this day and age, there's so many adult daycare jobs, jobs that might pay very well, but they don't necessarily leave you with that feeling of being fulfilled, or you don't necessarily get excited to get up in the morning and go to work. I used to have that when I was working in hospitality as a bartender, when I was working as a laborer. Those were the first jobs I had because they were the only ones I could get with no matric. This is also a great job for you, rope access industry, if you are trying to get a job but you didn't finish school like myself. I'm a bright person, I would say myself, but school just wasn't cutting it for me. So I decided to do something with my hands, and I've managed to find some pretty great success with it. So I feel like I could share with you guys how I got into it and what kind of doors it can open for you. So first things first, there's two associations where you can get a RATA done in South Africa. So there's ARAFA and there's ARATA. ARAFA is local, which means that if you get an ARAFA certificate, it might be a little bit cheaper, but in the long run, it's not going to be worth it because you'll only be able to work in South Africa, and an ARATA certificate is just far more highly accredited. So ARATA, International Rope Access Trade Association, is international, so obviously it's in the name, and that means you can travel offshore with it. You can travel all over the world with it. It's everywhere, so you don't have to worry about not getting a job because you've got the wrong certificates. So I would recommend going for a RATA. And now rope access, obviously in America they have SPRAT, which is Society of Professional Rope Access Technicians, but it's kind of the same thing. It's just that I think it's a longer training session. It's more training with Harata. So yeah, you've got three levels in rope access: level 1, level 2, level 3, and each level you go up, you gain more experience, you get more responsibility, and you get paid more. So a level 1 technician in South Africa can earn okay, I'm not going to talk about salaries in this video. I'll do another video about that. But when you're starting off, you might not make the best money, and you might be working long, grueling hours, and you might not have a stomach for heights, and that does take a bit of getting used to. But most of these companies out here, what they'll do is they'll put you on easier sites for you to handle while you get your experience. So they're not just going to put you on a 15-story building on your first day. They'll give you time. They'll give you like a month to get used to everything. So yeah, you've got three levels. Level 1 technicians are basically like entry-level technicians. So you are given, a bit of time to learn. Like I said, level 2 technicians are responsible for rigging. So level 2, by the time you have your level 2, you should have 1,000 hours in your logbook and 1 year of work experience. You'll only be allowed to go for your level 2 once you've got 1 year work experience and 1,000 hours. But your 1,000 hours you can get within like a couple months if you're really working every day. So yeah, and then level 3 technician is supervisory roles. So they would be responsible for safety files, for fall arrest plans, for fall protection plans, any of the paperwork involved in the site that you're working. They'll be the ones planning everything out for the day and doing toolbox talks with you in the morning. I would say to anyone who's looking to get into it, as long as you listen to your level 3, granted they're not a dumbass, so just be careful. As long as you listen to your level 3, the work is not that hard. It might be tough on the body, but it's not necessarily the most technical shit. So yeah, those are the 3 levels you get. And then what else? So when you do your course, it's going to be 5 days. You'll have to know 5 basic knots. I think it's 5 now. So that's stopper knot or barrel knot, a figure 8, a double figure 8, or bunny ears as we call it here in South Africa, an alpine butterfly, and a figure 9. So those are your basic knots of rope access. They're not too difficult. It might be, honestly, to be honest, I did struggle a little bit in my level 1, but I found my level 1 a little bit more difficult than my level 2 actually, because at that time of my level 1, I was literally like fresh to the industry. I didn't know how to fucking put a harness on by myself. So, you know, um, by the time you get to level 2, you have the know-how to kind of breeze through it, you know. And yeah, so basically, level 1 is going to be quite tough on the body. I would recommend just getting your fitness in check before you go, but it's nothing crazy. I mean, you'll manage as long as you are able to do to like 30 push-ups in a row, 20 push-ups in a row, and you can do a couple pull-ups, you'll be fine. I think they might test you depending on the training center beforehand. So yeah, 5 days. Those are the basic knots you'll know. You'll need to know how to do a re-belay. You'll need to know how to do a rope transfer. You'll need to know how to do a rescue. You'll need to know how to do aid climbing. There's a great channel on YouTube that I watch for all my training. It's called Access Techniques, and they'll run you through everything you need to know for your training. They've got level 1 playlist, level 2 playlist, level 3 playlist, and yeah, so it's pretty straightforward. It's 5 days training, 4 days training, 1 day assessment. Sorry. And then once you've got your certificate, they'll send you a logbook in the mail. And what you do with this logbook is it's got slots there. When you're on site, you get work and you get on site, get your level 3 to just run through it with you, explain it to you how it works, just so that you understand. But you'll basically be writing down the height you were working at each day, you know, how many hours you spent on the ropes. I usually fill mine in once a month. At the end of the month, I just run through how many hours roughly that I worked that month and what heights I was working at. You'll put the location of the site you're working at, and and at the end of the page, the level 3 puts a stamp or they sign with their phone number and their router number. So that's how that works, and you just got to keep check of your logbook, make sure that you get all your hours tracked. You know, by the time a lot of people, by the time they get to level 3, they stop tracking their hours because they've already got enough logged up to go for level 3 again, reassessment, no problem. So it's not really, but you know, it's good to keep a track of it. Also, just for your own, it's cool to look back on all the work you did. You know. So yeah, what else do you need to know? So as many avenues you can take in rope access. You can work offshore on, you know, doing facility maintenance, oil rig maintenance. You can work in renewables like I do, which is wind turbine maintenance, wind turbine blade repair. There's a lot of work in this field at the moment because green energy is kind of taking over, and wind energy is huge in this country right now. I read something at a training center I was at, that there's an expected shortfall of about 280,000 wind turbine technicians by 2028. So now is a great time to get into it, you know. I know everything kind of seems like it's going downhill in terms of job availability and unemployment and all this crap, but you know, there are ways to make money, my friend. There's many things you can do as long as you have the gees and the drive to get it done. There are still opportunities out there as long as you have the balls to work it out. And it's not as tough as you think it is. It's pretty tough, but you get used to it, man. You pick it up. And if you're hungry for adventure, you're hungry for success, you're not really going to be too worried about a little bit of height. So yeah, you can get into renewables, you can get into the offshore oil and gas industry, you can get into doing local work, building maintenance, facility maintenance, high-rise painting, high-rise industrial painting, silo maintenance, cleaning inside and outside of painting of grain silos. You can get into this is a lot of the work that you'll be doing. It's called local work, that you'll be doing when you first get your level 1, because it's how you get your experience and your hours. Granted, offshore and wind energy renewables pays way more, of course, because by that point you probably have a lot more experience or you have some additional certificates. And then yeah, so with local work, you'll make a bit less, but it's a great way to get experience. Because to be honest with you, you probably work harder in local work, from what I've gathered and from what I've heard from many of my bosses and previous level 3 supervisors, is that local work gives you a hell of a lot of experience, you know, and you probably work a lot harder and do a lot more technical shit doing local work, because you're at so many different facilities every day. You might jump from one site working on a 15-story building doing some painting to in the afternoon going to you know, like a site and doing some roofing, changing out some roof sheets, and then the next day you might be like hanging, over to the flipping ocean, removing some anchors, or it all depends where you stay, of course. But there's so many different things that you can do. Signage, and most of the time, local companies do a bit of everything because, you know, rope access contract work, generally the work doesn't take super long. So each project might take anywhere from like a week to like 2, 3 months, depending on what kind of work you're doing. So there's always different work going on, So most rope access companies will have their hands in kind of all the cookie jars trying to get as many contracts as they can. The bigger companies um, don't necessarily need to do that. So they might just do window cleaning or just do painting, or you know how it is. So yeah, I'm trying to think of what else you might need to know. You can get into, well, if you get a welding certificate, you'll find a lot of success in rope access because, welding is highly sought after. Rope access is highly sought after. They merge together very nicely. Rigging, of course, rigging and rope access is very similar. People get them mixed up quite a lot, but rigging is more heavy lifting heavy loads, crane lifting, stuff like that, boom lifting. Rope access is more using ropes and harnesses and slings and carabiners to access difficult to reach places. So let me think, what else is there? That's basically the gist of rope access. It's an incredibly exciting field to be in. I really do love my job. I am excited to get up every day and go to work. There are some shortfalls, like you might find in the first time or the first companies that you work for. There's some fly-by-night companies out there that don't necessarily take your safety or your health very seriously. So you need to be very vigilant. Whatever work you're doing, you've got the correct dust masks, gas masks, or you've got the correct face protection, you've got gloves, you've got all the PPE you need, safety boots, whatever. Companies should always provide you with PPE. Whatever site you're working on, if you're working in a grain silo and you need to have a ventilation mask, they have to provide that. So you know where you stand as well, legally. And I've had so many people come to me in the past and ask me, how do you get into it? How do you get into it? But not many people take the bait, dude. Not many people actually are serious about making that change. So I would urge you, my friend. I used to work in a bar, pouring coffees all day, pouring cocktails at night, and watching drunk people make fools of themselves. I hated my job. I hated life, dude. And I just, I had a little bit in savings by that time, and my friend told me all about rope access because I think I posted a cool photo of an oil rig on my story, and he messaged me like, oh, I work on one of these. So I asked him a bit about it, and I had exactly what I needed to do my level 1 course, and I went and I did it. And since then, I feel like I haven't worked a day because I love what I do. It doesn't feel like work. That's not to say the work isn't difficult. It's fucking tough, dude. You need to be a bit of a tough cookie to succeed in rope access, but it's possible, dude. If I can do it, you can do it. So, my friend, I would urge you, if you are, serious about this, you're welcome to send me or drop a comment or something, and we can talk. God bless, friends. Best of luck.